Welcome to another episode of the Reboot Chronicles, a no-holds-barred forum with global leaders, authors, entrepreneurs, and CEOs about how organizations stay focused on growth and innovation in unprecedented times. I'm your host, Dean DeBiase, coming to you live from Reviv's North American headquarters in Chicago, and we would like to thank you for joining us from around the globe today. We'd like to welcome Zaffrin O'Sullivan to the program today from the UK. She's a co-founder of Five Dot, a minimal ingredient skincare brand. Welcome.
Hello, hi there.
Good to see you. You know, it strikes me you're the CEO of a new indie brand. You're a lawyer with BBC TV, so you kind of play a lawyer on TV, I guess I could say. You're a mother of three, and you're a beekeeper. How do you juggle all that? I thought I had a busy day.
It's kind of fun. It's a bit crazy. My husband does all the childcare, so I'm busy with the bees and the business.
Busy with the bees. There's a metaphor there. You're also involved in the Sephora Accelerator program. We'll talk about that. And you're founder of the Female Founders in Beauty. What is that?
Yeah, that was born out of a failed application for the Sephora Accelerate program a few years ago. I got together all the women who had applied because I realized there was like a lot of founders like me who still wanted to network. And, you know, you always apply for programs, but actually you're capable of having your own network yourself. So we just built it. And so we've got nearly 2,000 women in our group from around the world discussing their business pain points.
Oh, wow. I love that. I'll put a link in the podcast once we write the article. So just tell me, why did you start Five Dot? Well, you probably could have done many things at this point in your lives. Tell us a little about the story.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't have a background in beauty. I'm a lawyer, but I could see that there was a lot of change happening in terms of people's lifestyle. We're looking for a lot of transparency in the food we ate. We're thinking a lot about the cleaning products we use. We're thinking about who made my clothes. But actually in beauty, it was very difficult to navigate what's actually in my products. And that was a very perplexing moment for me. And I wanted to create something that was quite minimal and transparent, because that's really how you offer people clarity and control about what they're putting on their skin. Most people in beauty will say, look, the Inky list is a list of ingredients. How much more transparency do you really need? But actually people, unless you're a cosmetic chemist, how are you really going to understand what those ingredients are and what they do? So that was where it was born from, an idea. And we worked on it for a couple of years, and we got an amazing cosmetic formulator attached to the brand, who does all our formulation for us. Yeah,
I bet you do. So, and why Five Dot? How'd you come up with that?
Yeah, so we always knew that we only wanted 5 ingredients. It was enough to be innovative, but not so much that people couldn't understand it. You can count it on one hand. But what we had seen was a lot of brands over time dilute their brand proposition. It's very easy to do. Someone will go like, why don't you just launch a sunscreen with 7 ingredients? Why don't you launch this with 8 ingredients? And then before you know it, you're not core to what you originally planned to do with your business. So that if we enshrine 5 in the name of our brand, it's our North Star. We'll never move from it. That's what it stands for. That's what it is. That's what it is to the consumer. It's easy to understand.
Well, that could be challenging for the business model at some point, but I get it. I like it, especially with the trends that are going on. I've seen other personalized skincare brands launching with, they're saying like 30 ingredients. I'm not sure why that's a magic number either. What did strike me is just in a lot of categories, even food, just how, when you really get down to minimalist brands, how low you can go in terms of ingredients, because you're not, all the additives and the other things are gone, which is interesting. But we'll jump into that in a sec. A little bit about the data. I'm sure we're witnessing a massive online spike in shopping. Since March, a couple of reports are it's up anywhere from 49 to 50%, which is pretty big. And the Revive Health and Beauty Index, which measures personalized skincare diagnostics and recommendation, the usage up on that platform through retailers and brands is up over 200% globally. So what are you guys seeing?
Yeah, so we're seeing, obviously, online has been really good for us. People are not in store anymore. They're online. We're a primary online brand. So we're getting a lot of people that maybe hadn't been interested in us looking at our website, getting a lot of engagement on socials. So that was super important for us, that we weren't in a selling mode at the start of COVID. We couldn't be there like, hey, buy our stuff. We're actually there like saying, hey, how are you? We're real people behind this brand. But actually, in terms of macro trends, when we originally had the idea for the brand, the concept of minimalist skincare just didn't exist. We would have spent 2 years trying to educate the customer on what that really meant. But
Hmm.
over time, what we're seeing is a radical shift in people's perception about transparency in everything. And so, for sure, minimal ingredient skincare, this is here to stay and it's going to grow this year. Vegan skincare has been bubbling. Veganism has been bubbling for a long time. Everyone
Yeah,
knows it.
sure.
That's not going anywhere. Halal beauty is another interesting area which we had set the business up for, because we're seeing a lot of change in Asia around legislation for how cosmetics should be put onto the market and what their minimum criteria should be. And
Can
the
you
big
tell me?
thing,
Can you tell me what's different in that formulaic?
yeah, so where, to be halal certified, you need to,
Hmm.
not have certain ingredients in it from animals. And it's not just about the ingredients list. It's about, kind of an ethical supply chain. Halal kind of, I guess, encompasses
Got
quite a
it.
lot of things. And some larger manufacturers find it very hard to get certified. We haven't,
I
um,
bet. I
we,
bet.
and we kind of, Asia is an interesting area for us. So
Mm.
I think it's a very nascent market, but I think it's going to get bigger over the next 5 to 10 years.
Tell us about your price points. You budget, super premium, right in the middle. Where are you guys?
Yeah, so our price point is between, I guess, £26, and our most expensive products at the moment is £38. So it's kind of, I think it's quite expensive actually for,
Yeah.
yeah, for most people. But we use very high quality ingredients. Our suppliers are mainly European. We pay everybody very, very well and way above any kind of living wage. We believe this is the true cost of kind of putting beauty out there. It's not necessarily huge margins that we're trying to pocket. It's really a little bit like where fast fashion has gone. What is the true cost of your product if you want to pay people well?
Yeah, I mean, you're in the right space at the right time. I'm sure margins will come because they're pretty good in this sector. So it'll come with scale. Let's talk about scale. Where are you selling this? You probably started out mostly in the UK and then branched out, or what's going on globally?
Yeah, so we launched in June 2019, primarily direct to consumer. We had our followers on social media, and they were our first customers. They were our first 600 people on our email list that we sold to. UK and Ireland, we're seeing some steady sales coming out of Ireland, and we've never really marketed outside of the UK and Ireland, but we've had a
Hmm.
few. The territories we're notably getting orders from places like Germany, where I think clean and natural is quite interesting to people. We would like to scale outside of the UK and Ireland, but what was really key for us is to show, a loyal fan following, repeat customers, great experience. We're British, we want to be a British success story. And
Right.
for us to be successful in our home market was super important before we tried to go global.
Yeah, makes sense. And then what about people like Credo and Sephora and Ulta? And are you able to get into channel yet? Or are you still kind of taking the alternative routes, if you will, social
No,
media
we
influencers, things like that?
Yeah, we definitely have our eye on those retailers for sure. And I think if we want to go into the US, for example, we'll definitely need to raise more money because of the huge cost of just scaling our distribution and manufacturing. But
Hmm.
for us, I think it's really important that we can show those retailers, um, that we're successful ourselves online and that we've got a community that other brands don't have. It's very difficult for multinationals to build that genuine connection with a founder or an indie brand where they feel that they're backing people, not just a business. And I would like to be entering discussions with Sephora or Credo, with a much stronger card of, playing hand, because I want them to, not me be begging, I want them to be going, this is great, we can see that you've been really successful and people
Right.
rave about you. And I think that's much more important to do
All right.
before you enter negotiation.
Let the record show the negotiation started here. So it brings up another different question I was going to ask, but let's just go on that thread for a while. Why is it a good time for indie brands? You're seeing so many, especially women and minority-found companies that are doing indie brands in everything from food to cosmetics to, healthy products. Let's just call that category. What are your thoughts there? What's going on?
Yeah, I think that we are it's linked to a number of things, really. One, I think that people buy from people, and so
Mm.
this founder-led connection is very powerful. It's a powerful tool in terms of trust, because that's what we're really facing. Consumers have a lot of doubt about the brands that they're using. Do I trust you? But they trust people behind it. So independence is really important. I think also you're living in the age of storytelling. So we now consume tons of content. We're not buying brands, we're buying stories behind the brands, and they stand for something bigger
Right.
than the product itself. And people like me or other founders are able to tell those stories much more powerfully and much more magnetically for the consumers, and they are drawn into a community or a tribe that resonates with them. And I think that doesn't go away, I don't
Right.
think. But I think
Yeah.
funding is a challenge for indie brands, so whether they survive or can scale is a whole other thing.
Yeah, that's all. That's normal stuff. That's the circle of life, as they say in The Lion King. It's not every brand's going to make it, and that's really part of the model. But go back to storytelling. How do you get your story out? Is it like you talking like you do now? Is it written on the website? Is it through the social media influencers?
Yeah, so to date, and I think the storytelling is going to change as we grow, and we've, since getting investment, there's other ways that we can do it. Our
Sure.
primary way of storytelling was online through our social media channels. It was literally like, this is our product. It turned out rubbish. We need to go back. This is us going crazy in a print factory because our labels are actually being printed. Isn't this amazing, guys? And people are like, we love printing presses, because they didn't really care
That's
about, like,
definitely a
do I.
niche. That's a niche audience for sure.
Yeah, but like, people, our audience aren't beauty geeks. They're not reading the press. They're not
Uh,
reading, and they're
got
not
it.
obsessing over their skin. They care
Right.
about a lifestyle choice. They care about good design. They care about transparency. They don't care about, like, oh my God, what's the 4 mattifying things I need for my face? They want healthy skin, but they're interested in design. They're interested in architecture. And so we were able to talk about a whole ton of stories not related to beauty. Our best post, our best blog on our website is an article about why we love Morse code. Our branding is all about Morse code.
Yeah.
For a beauty skincare brand, the best blog was why we love Morse code, because
Yep.
people are like, thank God you're not telling us about, like, another article about X. It's actually like stuff that's different. Um, and
So that's why I thought you came up with five dot, not five ingredients, but it was dots and dashes, going
dots
back
and
to
dashes. Yeah,
yeah.
the name came first, and the Morse coding came later, actually.
Yeah, someone. So how is that going? How is the whole scale part of this going for you? For instance, you're part of the Sephora Accelerate 2020 program, which is a great program. Right now, you're supposed to be in San Francisco, along with a lot of friends of mine that are, in different types of accelerator programs out there across every industry, from food to cosmetics to healthcare, and so you're not there. I understand that, but how's Sephora helping you?
Yeah, they've been fantastic, actually, because there's 2 prongs to it when you apply to this. It's the personal journey you're going on as a founder.
Hmm.
For me, as a female founder from a non-beauty background, I really wanted to feel that I had a foot into the beauty industry. So on a personal level, it's about encouragement, growing your profile, feeling confident that you could be a leader of a brand that's going to grow. But secondly, they also understand with indie brands, there's a lot of behind the scenes that they haven't, fixed, whether that's how to scale adequately, how to get your next tranche of funding, how to really tighten your brand up for, kind of consumer appeal, whether it's on shelf in store or whether it's online. And so they're constantly pushing you to challenge everything that you put into your product. But equally, one of the biggest things that you sort of don't realize when you're first starting out with a business is how important building a strong network of other individuals, like-minded individuals with a vision to grow a brand is. So just having more people in your networks that are entrepreneurs in this space is fantastic. So they're kind of like, I guess, 3 ways that Sephora is really helping us.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, it's one of the most important things is how do I run a program called Dancing with Startups. We do a lot of this at Kellogg in Chicago, Kellogg School of Management, and bringing startups and major corporations together is always an interesting dance, and how it gets, put together, and, having the right connections is obviously helpful. But once you get that agreement going, that can be the key for a lot of these indie brands to scale. Any tips on how those that weren't as lucky to get into an accelerator program might approach that?
Scaling or creating a network?
Partnering with large corporations, scaling, right?
Yeah, I
All
think
all
that
the above.
Yeah, I think the best bits of advice we've ever been given have been from people who've done it. So actually, it's critical. It's not about speaking to consultants. It's not about business books. Actually, speaking to other founders that have done it. So the other day, I was
Yep.
talking to one of the founders that had just got into Sephora, and it was like, how much money did you need? How big was your actual first order? How many territories did you go in?
Right.
And did you forego another retailer in order to go exclusive with Sephora? Was that difficult? They're so practical, those questions. No book or consulting really help you navigate it. But when someone goes, yeah, it was a 10,000 unit order, it was for 7 territories, they didn't reorder again, they put another order in, I over manufactured, my cash flow then sucked, I had to close an office down. That's the kind of on the ground stuff that is super important. So I would say, having, but then equally you have to be able to share candid information about your business with somebody else, because otherwise you can't just be sucking information from other people. You need to be prepared to share your pain with someone else and give them the wisdom that you've got from your own deals.
That is such a great networking tip. It's usually one way for some people. And I was smiling through your explanation there because I've been on some of those phone calls on both sides of that story. It's always painful, but all of that is going to be even more and more become part of your story as you go ahead and keep storytelling going. It seems like so Sephora was good. The online, it seems like you're working online. Here's what a lot of big brands, they think online is about their website and their presence and their own brand. And they've been slowly learning, it's not just about what happens on our website. It's everything else that can happen when they're not on our website. How do you approach the whole social side? Any
Yeah,
tips there?
so we had originally been quite, our content is really trial and error. So we had originally like kind of public messages. So here's our content, you must love it and consume it. And I know they
Yeah.
don't love that. They love stories about us. That's great. But we're always looking at the data. What are the stories that they like looking at? So they love our face. We never put our face up enough, but they love it. Anything that has us in. They love
Hmm.
stories about where we have overcome some kind of adversity as a small brand. But also, one of the things that we had only started doing, which has been hugely successful for us, is collaborating with like-minded brands or influencers. So, for example, a natural home for us has been collaborating with influencers who talk against fast fashion. Sustainable fashion is a huge one for us, and that audience loves sustainable beauty, natural place. We've done some stuff with people who are into, like, our lifestyle of our audience is very much around yoga, so we did something with a yoga studio, and finding the conversation where there's a mutual benefit to both parties taking place is really good, because the content's actually genuine for both audiences. It's not artificial. I mean, we wouldn't necessarily do it with, I don't know, like a protein bar or something that didn't resonate with our audience. So finding collaborations, but those collaborations can't be artificial. So some of our best collaborations have literally been done on goodwill for both sides. They're not paid. There's no money changing hands.
Yep.
It's not like, I'll give you £500, can you do this? Because that's just a promotion. It's just an advert. But actually, where there's a long dialogue between two brands kind of geeking over each other, and then they come together to put something together for an audience, it feels sincere. We're kind of in an age of sincerity, and everyone's on their device now, so they've got time to really flush out who's kind of just doing it for a quick buck, or who's doing it to really, at the end of the day, tag on a call to action and buy our products. We're literally doing it and being like, we don't care if you buy our products. Did you enjoy the story? What do you tell us more? Because we are constantly using the information we're getting from people to deliver products that they want, or a problem that they want, or help us articulate our brand better. So, for example, we have an eye serum who people
Hmm.
started using as a lip plumper. I was really perplexed. I mean, we didn't come up with that, but everyone was like, "Oh, here's a little gify of us using it as a lip plumper." And I was like, "Okay, that's great. You're creating content using our stuff."
Yeah.
But actually, I was
It
like,
was
"Wow,
probably an accident at first, and then it
like,
turned into.
yeah, for sure." But it's, and then we put a big thing out. What should our next product be? And they come back with loads and loads of different things. We didn't realize that people. I mean, we don't do hair care. But what was our biggest request? We want transparent hair care. Our hair is poor, water quality is rubbish in cities. We've all got thinning hair. We're obsessed with our hair. And I was like, wow, like that was a good one. And then another one was like, we can find out all the metrics to do with the lifestyle. So obviously, like through the back end of Facebook and Instagram, you've got tons and tons of audiences you can build, but it's easier just to go out to your audience and say, what do you do at the weekend? And we found out that tons of them all do like Pilates or yoga. Like I would say 12% of our audience regularly practice Pilates or yoga. And that's just a really interesting insight for us when we then did our next collaboration. So we just constantly ask them all the time. And we're small enough to be able to get them.
Yeah, sure.
Reply.
You can jump in and adapt, and even your granola bar thing isn't that far off. Because what we've seen with the Revive Beauty Index data, where we're tracking hundreds of thousands of consumers around the world, what's going inside your body versus on your face are kind of coming together. So there's people that are coming at it from a health point of view, and they get to your type of genre of products, and vice versa. They're coming in from I care more about this, and what else would be good for me to kind of switch out in the food side of our household. And what we've seen over the just let's call it 2020 is a spike in that, just massive spikes in online data we already covered. But what they're actually doing is interesting as well. So the Revive Beauty Index, it's been up anywhere from 300 to 400% depending on the search. And the things are topics like, obviously just taking a selfie, that's gone up, accepting recommendations, accepting the diagnostics, going into the shopping cart, way up. And the other thing we've noticed, you just pointed out, and these are with our retail partners and big brands and indie brands, we've been pointing out that just because it's not just about a funnel and getting them down into e-commerce, it's whatever you want to do to engage the consumer. So during a time when consumers have had more time on their hands, quite frankly, there has been more of an educational, social sharing of stories side to it that doesn't necessarily lead to shopping cart monetization.
Yeah.
And that has been very revealing for some. And then for others, it's like, well, we need to figure out how to keep top of mind, because during this time as well, one of the things we measured was the amount of consumers, especially in the States, that have been open to new brands. This is measured data, and then switched to a new brand that they maybe never heard of. Could have been yours, for instance, because they are more indie brands than the traditional ones for various reasons. Though their core brand was out of stock, or they just discovered you because it was an interesting time to discover. And then the last stat, which probably is good for you, is I think about 256% of those people said they were going to continue to use that new brand they found, especially when retail opens up again. They're going to be looking for those new kind of brands. So a lot has happened. A lot of the media coverage is just about, hey, we've jumped 10 years ahead in terms of digital penetration, at least in the States. China has always been way ahead of us. 40% of their commerce has come from online, and where ours has been in the teens, now it's jumping. But the real story is, what are they doing? So I think that's good for a lot of your compatriots, and I guess you'd call them competitors, but I don't think you're really competing with each other.
No, I think that's right. I think the market share is growing, and actually the dilution is coming from some of the multinationals.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So how do they find you? I mean, my guess is some of the people that have discovered new products through whatever personalization engines or just social sites have switched to brands. Have you seen much of that?
Just in terms of the retailers that are coming to us.
No, just consumers that may be just buying direct.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I think that Instagram has been massive for us. I think there were people that were already interested in us, that were our fans. The collaborations brought a bigger audience to us.
Yeah.
We had done a number of things when.
Good old Wi-Fi. Let it cut out there. And she might not be coming back. We'll give her one more second, everybody. Hold on. It's a little tough these days. All right. So we want to thank Sarah for coming on the. There she is. You back?
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. Yeah, so they're finding you. These brands are, I mean, people are finding all these new brands that they have discovered during this great lockdown, which has been a fascinating time for, indie brands like you.
Yeah, and I think that, it's not just the collaborations. I think we did a lot of things where we stopped selling in April. Conversely, it was also one of our best months with no marketing. We switched our production, we had budget for events that we had to cancel, and we switched that to make free hand sanitizer. We wrote the cost off, and we did it with a gin distillery, and we just gave it to our local community for free, and we gave it to our customers for free, and that was just from our own pocket, our own business. It was money we hadn't ended up spending, and people remember that. We were very quick to do that and ask for nothing in return. And I think that brands that are kind, brands that are community focused, are brands that people are going to remember when they're through this. And so people who did have some income to spend were happy to support brands that looked like they had a mission beyond just surviving financially. But it's clear that they had an investment in their local community. So we did something in South London, which is where our company is based, and we got a spike in orders. We can see it in the data from people in South London, because they were finding us from a very localized initiative based in the community. So that was good for us, but it wasn't our intention. It wasn't, we didn't do it to make people buy.
Of course, you're just helping out. Let's touch out on technology. So what we're seeing in both e-commerce providers and retailers is a rush to offer more personalized skincare analysis, makeup try-on. The Revive products the demand has gone up during this time for two reasons. One, large corporations are accelerating their e-commerce strategy, so they need more engagement tools on a variety of areas.
Yeah.
And in store, when they are getting ready to open, they're saying, we don't want to use our own technology anymore, meaning our screens or our mirrors. Yeah. Everything we've been predicting, it's your handheld, it's you bring your own device, you use your own device, and use that as a tool both in store and online. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, this is absolutely massive for us, actually, not just for online, but also in retail. It was already on our roadmap to look at how can we have these kind of more personalized consultations with people. So technology offers that without needing an actual person dealing with it. For someone like us, we can actually implement that very quickly and speedily, because it deals with a lot of our customers' kind of basic questions about, what is my skin? What could be good for my skin? And actually, in a post-COVID world, I think we absolutely need to be advancing and accelerating that technology for all brands in retail, because we're not going to be touching each other with product anytime soon. And we had all of this investment in events. So for example, we had a week-long demo week with one of our retailers, a huge expense, thousands and thousands of pounds, to actually tell customers something that they could find out in their own home using an app, or very quickly using technology in a store. They don't necessarily always need a 20-minute consultation.
No, exactly. And what we're seeing in some stores is it's going to be self-service. You just click on it on your phone, you do it yourself, because they haven't brought the beauty technicians back. Others that are planning on bringing the beauty reps back into the store, they will use that as a way to have a discussion with the consumer while he or she's actually doing it on her phone, but they can still give them some quick advice without all the touching and things. So we're seeing that roll out more aggressively than it did since Christmas. I mean, because of what's happened around the world, it's totally changed the behavior. And eventually things will loosen up, but we think bring your own device is here to stay. Online and in store, and like
Absolutely.
you said, actually anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and even pre-COVID, this was on our roadmap. This is the future of where beauty needs to be. It's efficient, it's obvious. You can collect the data, you can save, profiles for customers. They can come back. It's
Exactly.
so completely where we want to be, and where we are going to be, I think, in the next 6 months.
Well, that's great, Zarif. Listen, we really want to thank you for having you on the program. Any parting thoughts, words of wisdom, as we like to say?
No, other than that, I think that for all brands, beauty or not, how we treat our people and the community at large and each other is going to define who is successful in the future. Now we're beyond, it's not just about commerce, it's about community at every touch point, and we need to be creating good business for everybody, for society.
Yeah, we look forward to watching you and seeing you scale. And after you go through the Sephora 2020 Accelerator program, we would love to hear how that went, and maybe have you back on.
Great. Thank you.
Right. Good to see you. Cheers.
Cheers.